Hello, and welcome to Gunpla Reviews, where it is myself versus my shelf. Over 170 model kits and a queue of reviews to do. I've also come up just short of 200 total models, but I'm at over 170 Gunpla. That aside, we're here for today's model kit. An EX mode of the NRX 044 Asshimar. But, bam! This is the P-Bandai Green Divers version. Behold. Palette swaps. Stand there while we look at this manual printed in the year of our Bandai Lords, 2005. However, as I just barely noticed, this came out in 2014. A 9-year difference. For our Asshimar, the manual shows us a yellow and green mobile suit. And on the back page, here are some poses. It comes with its own action base, but I don't like those. On the opposite side, we have color assembly for the action base and storage for extra parts. And then the transformation, as well as more units from the high-grade Zeta Gundam line, and some action shots, and the last of the assembly. Inside, of course, we have our parts list with some warnings. It begins, let me pull this taut, here at the torso, which is very non-standard torso assembly, which is also combined with the waist, where I like to begin, followed by the head, and then gun. The next page over here goes into the arms, followed by the feet, and over into the rest of the leg, and final body assembly, as well as assembly to the stand. Fumble with that paperwork. I'm trying to fold it correctly. It's like a map. If you don't hold it right, you don't fold it right. And over here, we have our P-Bandai insert that makes this different from your standard Asshimar release. This front page here is simply a bunch of stickers. There are color app stickers abundant on this P-Bandai kit. And on the inside, it has to have some cut-ins for assembly to show the additional stickers for non-standard stuff. Get a good coverage of this, because you have to show the whole step about the picture. They just cut that right out of the manual. It's like, oh look, sticker, put that here. So, that being said, let us behold our boy, the Asshimar, up close. First, I want to point out that this is that silvery, kind of gloss-injected looking gunmetal gray. You can see the color errors, I guess, or the swirling, or I wish I knew what to call this. There is the fault in the paint that went into the mold, because you have to stir that silvery liquid in there. And I really like this like dome looking head. But I digress. We begin. Articulation. Because the head is so large, you get kind of limited articulation, but it is most assuredly designed to go full sideways. So if you tried hard enough, you can kind of pop it to go full X-assist without breaking anything. These shoulder points here move all on their own, and you get a full 360 turn, but because of its design, goodness leg, what are you doing? Doing some stinky leg action over here? Because it's an old like socket like design, that just twisted right on out. But inside that shoulder, you do get a lot of working with the shoulder, so you'll get, oh, let me back up, a valiant amount of arm raise here. But even with the shoulder out of the way, it doesn't go much higher. The shoulder will go higher, but not the whole arm. You get, of course, I'm still trying to learn how to get into position because I'm left-handed and because of the space that I record in and because of things. I want to show you things without getting my arms in the way. At the elbow here is where you get your bicep rotation. You get about a 90-degree flex. And then over here the hands are on a regular old ball joint. Please stand. As you can see, as you play with it, it gets kind of wibbly and wobbly. Just a little bit hard to handle, but we're fine. Pop that back into place. The hands are simple, very small socket, but we're going to leave that out very deliberately for later. You have no waist twist at all. He does not do the twist, but he does get some forward ab crunch also because of its design and the transformation. There is a backpack here that has some articulation on it, but these serve a purpose in the transformation, as does this. There's nothing in here that is backpack compatible, so unless you get real crafty in designing something that's going to fit in these slots and on these tabs, you can't go customizing it unless you're some kind of GBWC champion. The legs though, boy, how did you get some movement with this arm out of the way. You get the highest of kicks, and because there's no butt flap, you get all that motion all to yourself. So let's straighten him out, swing that leg all the way back. I'm going to bring it forward again to show from the front. Here, this is a good angle. It's got a little bit of twist there, but no more. And then at the knee, you get more than a 90-degree bend. This piece right here does not move, so your bend is slightly limited, unless if you pull that out just a little bit, you can get you just a different bend. No, you can get a little more than 90, but it's really not that worth it, because then you things get a little awkward. So there you go. As you can see, playing with him and showing him off, he's a little flimsy around the waist. It stands just fine, but as you mess with it and the legs, they are kind of loose, weak. I'm not sure what term to call that, because it's not actually loose, but they're easily knocked out of place. We have absolutely one accessory, and that is this beam gun. It has two pegs for attachment, as well as the other hand, which is a trigger finger. The other hands that it comes with are closed fists, and they are larger than most, so it's going to be a little difficult to find you a hand that'll go in here and has an open grip for using extra weapons, beam sabers, and the elk. This is a sandwich type hand. Please focus. Focus. Yes. So you'll have to take it apart in order to assemble it around the hand or to attach it to the mobile armor mode. which we will very shortly get into. Because I have to bust out the manual again and look and behold on how to transform this boy. So enjoy the music while we do the move. And after much struggle and having to do this off screen because, as we know, I have the Butterfingers, we have our fully transformed Asshimar in its mobile armor mode. This is the reason for all of the stickers, because everything, save for one, lines up nice and circular. If you do pick up this P-Bandai, I recommend building the thing before putting the stickers on, so you make sure you get all your edges as lined up as they can. However, moving the legs aside momentarily, this last backpack sticker will infuriate you because it is not designed to line up. You may trim that off, but that's up to you, especially for those of you who paint. Then painting, just paint it. So, the last feature is its gun will collapse that handle in there, and you have an action-based adapter exclusively for mounting onto the gun. Plug that boy in, and then plug that right into the bottom. And you can mount that on the rarely used flat Phillips head action-based adapter. So we're gonna squeeze him right on there and slide him right on back. Now, as much as I had a struggle with putting this together in its mobile armor mode, it is not a parts former. Everything folds and rotates into place. The legs collapse into themselves right here with this panel that pulls out. The feet push out just a little bit. The waist will fold over twice, because you'll see that this is normally the bottom of the crotch. And this is the back piece where you can also attach the gun and with that peg onto its waist. The arms nicely fold into place, with the big struggle being the design of the hands. These are terribly designed because they're permanently closed fist. What it is the finger and thumb are a separate piece from the other three fingers, as is kind of normal, and all that plugs into the back of the hand, and then that plugs into this piece in here. This piece slides back and forth rather freely unless you lock it down with that tab, which also has its own sticker on it. Kind of like. The head splits open so you can fit it in place, and there's a tab inside so you know if you're turning it left or right. If you turn it the correct way, it'll flatten down right in there, and you'll be able to flatten your antenna down as well. So, with that all nicely covered, unfortunately I couldn't get the footage of transforming it on, and I'm short on time today, oh dear. For the... oh, there's a sticker coming up. I should probably clear coat these someday. For the Asshimar kit, a 2005 ZEON Gundam model kit. Oh, this is gonna... ZEON says, prototype it. It's wonderful that it is a transforming mobile suit that doesn't need any extra parts to go in and out, and everything is self-contained therein, save for your extra weapon. For me, it's the fact that I can't get, or they won't fit in absolutely perfectly. It bothers me a lot just on an aesthetic sense. I also have a hard time understanding the instructions because it wants you to flip legs one way, but then flip the waist back, and then flip the waist forward and back, and it gets confusing, which is why it's not on camera. But it's still a very posable and very nice mobile suit. However, I cannot recommend getting it as P-Bandai. Unless you just have to have that absolutely one singular piece of Green Divers memorabilia since our generation, the current right now generation of Gunpla and Gundam fans, are not going to be able to see that. It was screened way back in 2001 in a planetarium or some sort of auditorium across 3 screens, like a triple monitor setup, and there's just no footage of it. It was never converted to some kind of super widescreen adaptation, which is quite the shame considering we have regular Zeta, we get new translation, and Zeta gets all this love and attention in so many other forms of media like Super Robot Wars. We can't get, you know, that. Then again, it does sit at the start of Double Zeta, and it does feature the Pink Zeta, which Armora pilots, and all that junk. There's a bunch of lore out there that you can read up on, even if it's kind of small, and there's a trailer you can watch, but we can never watch the full feature OVA thing. Sigh. A loss for Gundam fans everywhere. But pick up an Asshimar. That's definitely going to be a win for you and your collection. I thank y'all for watching, and as always, SIEG ZEON.